Tyehimba from Harlem Liberation School, where we teach black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up, in the words of Brother Malcolm X. Family, I want to lock in on something I think we can learn from our street organizations in our community. Street organizations, i.e., gangs. That's how most people refer to them. I like the term street organization better because it reminds us that even though we talk about Bloods and Crips and Latin Kings and different um, gangs that we associate with violence, uh, weapon sales, drug dealing, and a number of other things, they are in fact organizations. They have hierarchies and all that, and which I want to get into quickly. You might find it odd that I would be saying that we can learn something from gangs in our community, but it's not odd. Intelligence, one of the measurements of intelligence is our ability to make connections between this idea, this person and this movement. That's important part of intelligence. Not being rigid in our thinking, being flexible, being able to see analogies and metaphors, right? And see connections. I had the distinct pleasure, as the founder of Harlem Liberation School, to have hosted a panel discussion a few years back where I had the members of different gangs, street organizations. These were people that were now middle-aged, 40 years old, that were former leaders of gangs, reflecting on the things they did, why their organizations were started in the first place, and what they felt their meaning was, their purpose was, their value, right? And what I learned in that panel discussion really blew my mind. After that, I had a few subsequent interviews with a brother named Tiny. His name is Brother Marion Frampton, his formal name, but his nickname in the streets is Tiny, who further educated me on the significance of gangs in our community. And I just like to draw your attention to some things that we can learn as community organizers, as parents, as neighbors. Is a lot, without necessarily co-signing the things that they do that we don't agree with, obviously. So let me give the disclaimer on top, off the gate. I am not suggesting that we join gangs. I'm not saying that I endorse any activity involving rape, any activity involving stealing from our community, any activity involving extorting members of our community, visiting violence upon members of our community, selling drugs to members of our community. I support none of that. So let me say that from the start. What I'm talking about is to see elements in the gangs that we need to learn, take a page from. One of the things you'll note about gangs that I learned in the panel discussion I held with actual gang members, leaders of gangs, was that they have order. They have a very clear sense of leadership. They have different leaders, different roles. All of these people, these different leaders, these different roles, and their different capacities are responsible for different things. You may have a person who's the spokesperson of the gang, or kind of a diplomat or ambassador. They kind of, not like they're a spokesperson to the media, obviously, right, or to the police, but if there's a beef with another organization, they will send this person who's considered well-spoken, respected in the hood, right, respected by other gangs, and this person will talk as an intermediary with their spokesperson of the gang and try to work things out. You have warlords, you have all these different people in charge of discipline. So they have a very clear kind of a hierarchy of leadership, carefully defined roles for everyone. Number two, they have a sense of discipline, internal discipline. So the gangs in our communities, in other words, and I've asked different gang members and gang leaders this question: what if one member of your gang went to another area of town in another gang's territory and did something atrocious to a rival gang member? how would that be handled? And every single gang member, and these are different gangs. We talk about the Black Spades, the Peacemakers, a number of different people. Every one of them said, we would discipline our member. So if they learned that one of their members went and did something crazy in violation to another gang in another territory, and they got back to this person's gang, that person's gang would discipline their own member to set the standard for them. And then many times that gang would then go to the other gang that this member violated and let them know. Many times they would bring them in to witness them disciplining, reprimanding, however they did it, their own member. It was a way of saying, we take ourselves seriously, though we may be rivals with you, and we may have some type of beef with you in the street, we take you seriously. And by disciplining our own member, what we're saying is we have rules that we abide by. And we know you do as well. And we know that our member was wrong to violate, in your community or whatever. Right? Very important. In our community, politically, there is no internal discipline. People can come out here, they could lie on people, they could besmirch people's name. I like some of the comments. Thank you for the comedy. You can besmirch people's names. You can commit atrocities in the name. You can steal from organizations. You can work with police and intelligence agencies in ways that are disingenuous and that hurt your people. And nothing is done. There's no internal discipline, nothing. One of the things I think we need to learn, I'm not going to outline what that should look like, but there needs to be, for all organizations to be respected in the community, they need to have teeth. Means they need to have the ability to enforce things. They need to have some type of discipline, a code, in other words, and they need to be able to enforce that. And I don't mean this in some type of Gestapo stormtrooper way, but to say, listen, we don't allow that here. That's a no-no here. If you want to do that, you got to go somewhere else. There's many ways you can discipline people. You can exile them. You could tell them that they are not wanted in your community because of the atrocities they commit. But right now, we got politicians, all types of people that are going out here saying whatever. And they can keep doing that because we have no capacity in our community to check such people. It's just like online. People come online and say all types of reckless things, right? All the time. And they do that because they know nobody's going to come see them, right? They just no discipline. So yeah, people come on, they troll, they say things that they probably wouldn't say to people's faces, right? And they know they could do that because nobody's going to come ring their doorbell and handle them. There's no discipline. Therefore, when the cat's away, the mice come out and play. And that's what we're seeing in Black communities all over the country. And this is with respect to police, feel they can do whatever they want and get away. Politicians that look like us and some who don't, who make promises that they do not fulfill, take our money and our support, our grassroots organizing support, and don't give us our bang for our buck because they know we're not going to do nothing about it. We're not going to say nothing or do nothing. We're going to grumble behind closed doors, but we won't organize to do anything, right? Okay. So that's another thing with gangs. They have an internal disciplinary mechanism. If somebody's out of line, out of pocket, they talking reckless with their mouth to other people, they're starting trouble, they're selling wolf tickets, the gang that they're in is going to check them. And they're going to probably check them far worse than the police would. Number 3, gangs have a sense of identity that they take very seriously. And they express this identity in the form of colors. They express it in the form of certain logos or insignias that they may see sewn on jackets, some type of patches or whatever. Their name. They take that seriously because they know with a strong sense of identity, people feel that they belong. People feel that they're part of a family. Many gang members, as you might know, many of them, not all of them, are people who are displaced in their families. There may be people who have been abandoned, orphaned. There may be people who are in really dysfunctional family situations. They don't feel no love from their family. And they gravitate to organizations like street organizations or gangs because they give them that which they're missing in the home or in the neighborhoods. Right? So this sent a strong sense of identity. And I want to give an example. When I talked to Brother Tiny, who was the leader of a chapter of the Black Spades in, I'm going to say, the 70s, 80s, was probably the largest gang in the Bronx, New York. And for those who know, in the Bronx, New York was the capital of street gangs at that time, right? The capital. So to be the largest gang in the Bronx said a lot about the organization, that it was powerful. And he said that they were started not to cause wreak havoc, or cause trouble in the black community, but because at that time in the Bronx, there were certain areas in the Bronx that black people could not go to. If black people went to Jerome Avenue, there was an Irish gang that would attack them. If they went over to this particular avenue, there was a different type of gang, usually white gangs. And he said, and in high school, so many people went to a certain high school, but if that high school was overrun with a certain gang, that gang would attack some of the students going to the high school. So he said the founders of the Black Spades gang were in the Nation of Islam and the Black Panther Party. So that they founded this gang to protect the community, to get drugs out of the community. There were incidents of women being sexually assaulted. So to protect the women, protect the children from the drugs and the predators and all types of different things. So another thing I think we should look at is that gangs have a sense of purpose. Whatever. Now, granted, many of them, their purpose is questionable, dubious, negative, criminal. But when he told me that we were founded on righteous principles to protect the community, almost to pick up where the Black Panther Party left off before the government of the United States helped to decimate them with the COINTELPRO, counterintelligence program. So this sense of purpose, we're here, fearlessness, we're willing to stand up against authorities that are attacking us. He said they sometimes had to fight police officers because the police officers at the time, he said, worked with the white gangs. So he said we were 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 fighting grown men just to be able to go to this section of the Bronx. That says that they're fearless, they have a code, they have a strong sense of identity and a strong sense of purpose, and they have an internal disciplinary function. And that's all I wanted to get across, family. As a black community, as you can see by some of the comments here, we have people who are reckless. We have people who are weak and cowardly, that they'll come on these things and say all these crazy things about try to attack the person talking, but they won't go and attack government structures. And when I say attack, I mean they won't challenge them. Police who are brutal, engaging in misconduct and mistreatment of citizens. They won't challenge the blood-sucking economic system that has so many people poor and can't afford medication and all these things, right? We need to be the type of community that has internal protection against people like that. People that think that they can get away with violations against our people. And as long as you don't have a cat in the house, the mice will just come in and do what they want. We got to bring the black cats back. Some would say the Black Panthers, to be specific. We need to have some type of organizational presence that lets people know we're not here to cause anybody harm. We're just here to take care of our people and to protect them and to advance them and to look out for them like other very strong communities have. And with that said, family, thank you for listening. Don't vote for Trump. Peace and Black Power.